Hey everyone, what is moving the crypto markets right now? Lots of things going on. To me, 100% all bullish. It's hard to find negative news right now on Bitcoin or cryptos in general. But let's just dive into it now and see what is pushing things forward and why things are bullish. So the reason Bitcoin has jumped and it hit as high as 106, and it is looking like it's on its way towards a new all-time high, somewhere between 118 and 125 as the next leg up before it retract again and then take its next leg up here before we get to summertime and then retrace again. But so Jerome Powell is talking about how the banks are perfectly set up right now to serve crypto clients, meaning they're all set up that and they're ready that they could custody crypto fairly easily. This is super bullish, obviously, with Trump rescinding the last executive order that Biden had against crypto, making crypto a liability on the bank's sheets, totally changing that, which is going to make it an asset here, even though it is a very volatile asset here, but it's something that they're going to be able to hold on the books for their customers. I don't know which exchanges, which banks will link up with, whether it be, most of them may do Coinbase, Gemini, other US-based crypto firms would be my guess is where they're going to be taking this here. But this should happen here sometime in, I would say, Q2 of 2025, as we're here in early Q1 of 2025 to start here in late January. I would expect by March, April, May timeframe, you're going to hear some really good news on this, and banks are going to start custodying, not just banks, but you're going to have firms already that like Fidelity that already kind of do, but now they'll be able to fully hold it. And Fidelity's been bullish on Bitcoin and cryptos for a while here. So they'll be the first big firm, and it'll be all of other ones like JP Morgan. You have all kinds of other firms out there doing the same thing. So all very, very positive news here on crypto. Some of the news that is helping it too, let's find it here. Okay. That's helping the Bitcoin bull case is that the U.S. missed its GDP came in a little bit low, right? They were expecting 2.5% gain, and instead it came in at 2.3. And what that means is they're likely to have to turn on the money printers sooner as we are going in a wrong direction with GDP. This was fourth quarter 2024 GDP. And I would expect this might be further revised downward later. We will see where things went, but I would expect it probably be going down, if anything. And that'll cause the Fed to really have to do some QE, quantitative easing, for those that don't know what that means, and then reduce interest rates again at the March 19th Fed meeting. And I would expect at that point, March 19th is when you're going to see the rate reductions start again. That might be the first, and then it may not happen again until the summer, or really probably I'm going to say the early fall of 2025. If I were to guess, if I were a betting man here, sell in May and go away, I would bet that the March one is where they will cut it, and then they will do it again sometime around September would be the next cut, would be my guess. That's just a complete hypothesis at that point. I have no science behind it, just kind of what they've done in the past. If you look at last year, they should have cut in March, they didn't. And then they go into September and they cut a half a point, right? They needed to. They knew they blew it already. And I think they're not going to be quite the same boat. That's why I think they cut in March, knowing the mistake they made last year, as long as inflation isn't looking too bad and or taking a kind of huge upturn. And then in September, they'll do it again because I think, people kind of shut down the markets. Will drop a bit here as you go sell in May and go away for the summer or by vacations, and Congress goes away in August. So September would make the most sense as to when they'll next do that. Another interesting point to look at, I'm going to go here because there's a short little video if I can find it. And he talks about this market. Let's listen. Remember that. So last 10% of the cycle is when 90% of the gains are made. A very important thing to know. That is extremely vital. And I got this off Twitter. If you want to find him, Michael Van de Pape. You can follow him on Twitter. I'm going to follow him now. But he's somebody that interviews these guys. And speaking of crypto, and he's in Europe. So it's not a US based guy, right? You're getting somebody from outside of the US. And it's always good to get other insight from other people outside the US on crypto and anything else going on in the world. So I thought that was an important thing for you to know, that the last 10% of the cycle, 90% of the run up goes on. So expect that and know that that's when you got to sell your bags and get out at that point. You don't want to be holding it too long. Now, there's some other good articles I wanted to show you here, if I could find them. And some of them are, so the Czech National Bank, it approves a proposal to study Bitcoin as a reserve asset. And let me find that article if I can here for you. But I thought that was very, very intriguing. So you got other national banks, other central banks and national banks that are looking at holding Bitcoin as a reserve. It won't just be the US. Obviously, the central bank here, the Fed, won't hold it, but the US is looking to hold it just like other countries hold it. So the more adoption that you have, the more this commodity is going to be looked at as a long-term hold, and it's going to reduce the amount of people that sell it, further reducing that, instead of a 78% retracement with each cycle, you can expect a 40 to 50% drop. You'll lose retail, but you won't be losing as much retail, one, and you're not going to be losing too many of the banks and stuff. You'll lose the ETFs, right? There's people take profits. That's going to ebb and flow, and that's going to cause some of the decrease in pricing. Probably the vast majority of it would be that, but I would imagine. But I'm still expecting somewhere between a 145 and a 155 high for Bitcoin this cycle. And by 2030, 1 million. But it's going to have retracement, obviously, sometime after May into the summer. And then another surge at the end of the year, which might be that really big push where a lot of other cryptos that haven't moved yet go up. And you get a big boon there at the end. Another interesting thing here, I want to talk about real world assets, RWA. So good article here. This is actually off of Chainlink. Real world assets and blockchain are digital tokens that represent physical and traditional financial assets, such as currencies, commodities, equities, and bonds. So real estate can be tokenized and sold. It's already done. You can go on, there's several different sites that do this. I believe it's Lofty.ai is one of the big ones out there. And I have a couple of pieces of real estate I probably will be doing this with in a very short term. But other commodities can be sold. Vehicles can be tokenized and sold that way. And that's going to happen probably within the next decade or so, that any vehicle you get, it's just going to be tokenized, can be held on a blockchain to make things much simpler and easier. Equities, bonds. And that gets into the next thing that I wanted to show you here, which is about XRP. If I can find that article here. But it's good news, very good bullish news on XRP. Here we go. So BlackRock-backed treasuries arrive on the XRP ledger. So Ripple's the first one doing the institutional adoption here, but they also teamed up with Ondo Finance. Now, I hold both these, right? I hold both of them. And I bought Ondo not too long ago, within the past month, and it's really jumped up nicely despite the fact the market has been down. Part of it is, and Ripple XRP has really held it strong as well. And a big part of it is this, because they've teamed up to tokenize US treasuries on the XRP ledger. This is where a lot of things are going to be held. A lot of these commodities, these government-based commodities, I would expect, as well as others. Some say Ethereum's going to hold a lot of the real world assets too, and potentially maybe more on the commercial side, big commercial buildings, small residential buildings. I don't see being the same thing, just because there's millions and millions of dollars into the commercial buildings, where you're talking hundreds of thousands into real estate. And when you get in Ethereum's gas fees, they get awfully costly to do transactions. You'd be paying $200, $300, $400, $500 for a transaction, where if you go on XRP, it'll be pennies. Solana, things are held on Solana's, again, pennies. You're not going to be paying much anything. Very important to know which blockchains will be holding which assets. And this is something we're going to be looking at moving forward, so you guys know which ones to be in. But the tokenization of real world assets is underway. It's going to be talked about more and more and more. Very important for you guys to understand that is our future. And one other thing I want to talk about too. So there is Litecoin ETF, and I've talked about this a video or two ago. That's likely to be an ETF soon. It was announced that it was already applied for, so that's going to be fairly soon. I think you're going to see the Litecoin ETF. Beyond the Litecoin ETF, you're going to see an XRP ETF. You're going to see a Solana ETF, and you'll probably see a mixture of different other cryptos out there, maybe a Chainlink, a Doge ETF. In an upcoming video, I want to talk about all these blockchains that fork off the Bitcoin blockchain and what their potential use cases are and value is down the road. And you talk about them. The biggest ones would be Bitcoin Cash. Litecoin is also a fork off the Bitcoin blockchain. Dogecoin is a fork off the Bitcoin blockchain, as is Digibyte, and there are probably several others as well. So I'll probably do a deep dive video into those and talk about what potential they could have down the road here as we get into the cycle and finish the cycle. And when you start looking at what to buy for next cycle, which ones could be the most valuable ones and the biggest risers, we'll definitely look at all of those things. All right, guys, hopefully you got something out of this here. Make sure you click the like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next video.